my little hiatus. It wasn't too little though. But we had the Taints on a couple weeks ago. But anyways, episode 11, Car Scene with Dean. Today I brought back a good friend of mine, Mark Huetter.
Hello.
Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
And we had that show a couple weeks back, and anything that went wrong did go wrong. So I figured, hey, we'll reshoot this. And he said, hey, no problem. I'll come back anytime. So thanks again for coming
you're
out.
very
Mark.
welcome.
Yes, yes. And first off, Mark, you work at Slot Mods
Yes.
Raceways from the Motor City.
Yes, we do.
Yes, and you work for my brother, David Beattie, who
Correct.
is the founder of Slot Mods.
Yes.
Yes, and what else was I going to say on that? Well, you work for my brother, and my brother called me one day about putting a backdrop up. You designed this.
Yes.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. You did one for Peggy too, which looks really good. And well, let's get into. We're gonna get into some discussions about your cars, your work. We're gonna talk about slot mods first. Some of your drawings you brought along. Some of your drawings. We'll hold some of those up. You can discuss how you did those and who they're for and this and that. So let's top off the tank and get the show on the road, eh?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay. Cool.
Well, I can do a 5-minute iteration. Basically, I met your brother about
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Worked at the same company, an
Mhm.
exhibit house, and what's really funny is the HR guy mentioned this guy named Dave had a largest slot track in the state of Michigan,
Yeah.
and so we all walked down there and gave her a little hard time about
Mhm.
it. And it was, yeah, really, guys, I have a large slot track.
Yeah,
And we're
yeah.
going, yeah, right.
Right.
And the following weekend, he invited all the design department over, and we all had a weekend of racing at his house.
Yeah. Wasn't that track was awesome?
That
wasn't
track
it?
was huge. So
Yeah.
it was fantastic. And Dave did everything himself.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think a friend of his helped him with the wiring, but beyond that,
Yeah.
it was all Dave.
Were you there when he could turn on the dry ice machine for the fog?
Yes.
Wasn't that cool?
That was cool. That was, I mean, that was what?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That was a slick track in the Dunlap tunnel, and also had the other, not the tunnel, well the
He made a Monaco archways.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was his track was fantastic.
Yeah,
It was an
yeah.
AC2 track, which meant you could run 2 cars on 1 slot.
Right. Right.
And you can have some really fun races,
Yep.
like in real life, as opposed to having them separate tracks.
And then when you went into the pits, you could hit the paddle, and it would take you into the pits.
Shoot off exactly, and just like in real life.
Yeah, it was something else.
It
Yeah.
was a fantastic track.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
I had lots of fun on that thing.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
We would like almost once a month. We were working at the same company. We would have the design group and him.
Mhm.
We have a nice little party at once, maybe once a month.
Yeah.
We have a little racing thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as time progressed, what happened? The company we worked at fell on hard times, and we kicked us to the curb.
Right. Right.
And so I went to a different company, and Dave founded Slot Mods.
Yeah.
And one day I got a phone call from Dave saying, "Hey, what are you doing for freelance?" I said, "Not much. I'm just working my 9 to 5." And he goes, "Well, come on over. I got a project for you." And so his idea was to create a Richard Penske, like a tribute car.
Yeah. I think you brought a picture with you.
And here's the sketches. Here's the sketches. This is a black and white sketch, and basically the idea was to take a slot track, integrate it into a vintage 1969 Camaro body. And so we started this in Dave's basement.
Mhm.
I just sat there and we sketched and his ideas, and then we went back home.
That was a takeoff of Roger Penske's.
We had a reference.
Reference
We had reference of Roger Penske's vehicle.
Yeah.
It started out as a GM tribute car, and then we
Yeah.
found well, Roger is a local racing hero.
Yeah.
Why not do it after Roger?
Right. Right.
And what happened was Dave got a body. I did more sketches. We did research.
Mhm.
And then what happened was I did a couple of iterations. We finished it up, and this was the finished art. It was in
Car Craft, wasn't it?
I think it was in Motor Trend magazine.
Yeah, that's right.
It was in a few various magazines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a fantastic track. So it started everything. This is one of Dave's biggest, one of his first and largest.
Yeah.
We put him on the map, basically.
Yeah.
Just put him on the map,
Mhm.
and it basically got him noticed by people at GM, Ford.
Oh, really? Yeah.
We did. I do believe he did some work. We did some work for Mr. Farley at Ford.
Yes.
We did a
Jim
track for
Farley?
him,
Yeah.
and for a few other major players and shakers and movers.
Mm-hmm.
And also we did a proposal for Mr. Jay Leno, for his Big Dog is Raceway.
Mm-hmm.
Kept it, his like the nice. It's a mega track, so it's like by about 20 by 15, if I recall right.
Yeah.
And we incorporated, because Jay likes Duesenbergs, well, we incorporated the the Duesenberg Museum.
Right.
And of course, sorry about that, Bob's Big Boy.
Yeah.
That's a big thing out
Oh,
west.
yeah. That's where he went there a lot.
And of course, and we have the Vintage Ford dealership, and I think Jay worked at a car dealership back when he was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
I'm not sure what it was. I don't know if it was a Rolls Royce dealership or a Ford. I'm not sure what it was, but it's had some bearing on
Yeah.
on what Jay was interested in at the time. So, anyways, this was a proposal, and I'm not sure how far this went, but basically he has my sketch on his wall.
Oh, really?
I think.
Yeah. Well,
This sketches are ancient, basically.
yeah.
But anyways, this is just a few ideation sketches, and it starts out like right here. Let's go. It's got a sketch right here. Here.
Oh, there's Pickles.
Hey, how you doing, kitty? So, anyways, basically all the slot tracks start out as a concept sketch.
Yeah.
So basically, it shows the winding of the roads, and a lot of the clients, they have ideas like you have like Laguna Seca. Maybe I want a curve from Laguna Seca racetrack.
Yeah.
Maybe I want these guys are really into their racing.
Yes.
So they select various curves or straightaways from different raceways,
Right.
and we take them and we blend them together.
Oh, cool.
Maybe I want the straightaway
Yeah.
from Watson's Glen.
Yeah.
Maybe I want the curve from Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
And the elements, and they're very critical about what they want to have on their track. So as if they have the Dunlap Hill,
Oh,
for
yeah.
example. Then also you have the bridge like Dunlap, kind of no tires. All these elements you see on this track were what the client liked at the time.
Right.
And this was built very much like we was sketched.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But this is how it's all sketched out by hand. Get approval from the client, what he wants to see, what elements to
Right.
be built on the track, and then we go ahead and once we get the approval and the deposit, we go ahead and go on the computer and start creating the cut files and the structures in 3D programming, much like
Right.
you do
Yeah. Yeah.
any kind of product. So we use Rhino 3D, we use Form Z, we use Lightwave, all the same items you would use in like a car company or a movie house. So all the software we use is basically is for product, same stuff a professional would use in any kind of industrial
Right,
design
right.
situation. And then we take it, create cut files, create the base, and we set up and cut all the tracks in the CNC and can create it.
Yeah. You guys do all the work in house too,
All
right?
works in house.
Yep.
We have the CNC, we have 3D printers, we have 3D printers, we have vacuum forms, and we're thinking, and Dave was thinking about laser, a laser cutter,
Yeah. Yeah.
and some 3D foam cutting machines.
Nice.
So he has a lot of plans down the road to
Yeah.
expand
Yeah.
all the tools and the equipment. And make a long story short, we have everything. We have the talent, we have the equipment, and we have Dave's inspiration. Every day we walk in and Dave has a brand new idea, and we
Yeah. Yeah.
go running.
If it's good or bad, it's still good, right?
Exactly. It's always good. He's the boss. He's always good.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, this episode, it's going to be on Spotify or any other listening device that you have. It's also going to be on my YouTube page, so you'll be able to see what he's showing everybody. So either way, you'll either listen to it or go to my YouTube channel in a couple days next week. It'll be up on there, and then you can see all these cool stuff.
And if you like to, I can ever send you some email of some of these JPEGs, so you can post them on your YouTube channel if you like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or your Spotify channel or your social media page.
Yeah. But let's see here. What else was I going to talk to you? Did we talk? You sketch everything first,
Yeah, correct.
and then after that, how do you get it in the computer? What do you do for the computer? I don't know anything about that stuff.
Well, but basically, what we first saw, the sketch is used as a sales tool and
Yeah.
a buy off for the client. And then what happens is once the client is happy with it, signs off on it, we start making it to the physical reality of it's like if it's 20 feet long,
Yeah.
10 foot wide,
Mhm.
taking it into a CAD software.
Okay.
And so basically, a lot of times if I just hand sketch just the track footprint here,
Mhm.
sometimes I would just scan it in and underlay it in a 3D program, and then you keep on it. You draw it and you adjust it. So you basically it's transferring your hand sketch and plan view. You're doing 3D modeling,
Yeah.
much like you would on any program for any automotive or product. So everything other dimensions are when first we know the size of the track.
Right. Right.
Does the client want 3 lanes, 2 lanes,
Right.
4 lanes? And then there's some restrictions. If you have a 4 lanes, your curves count as tight.
Yeah, I got a question. So, back in the old days, when we didn't have all that stuff. What's the time frame on doing the drawing to what you do now?
Oh heck, it's sketches. It takes about a good, depending upon the size of the track.
Yeah, right. Right.
You have first of all you have say if it's a mega track, for example, this is a mega track,
Mhm.
so it's approximately. I'm thinking it's 25 by 30. It's been a while. This is just
Yeah.
an older track, so it's about big as your studio here.
Right.
And all the engineering, all the ideation, the artwork, the creating all the signs. It can be about from first sketch to the end of the process. It could be 6 months to a year, depending on how complex
Wow.
the track is.
Yeah.
But doing initially, it's like the concept is about a week, and but then as you dive into it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you start engineering it, start developing all the details,
Right. Right.
research, because all our clients are sticklers for detail
Oh
and accuracy.
yeah.
They want this little piece of maybe it's a little house
Yeah.
that was part of the track.
Yeah. Mhm.
I didn't know about that. Well, look at there it is.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and they want it in that
Yeah.
track.
Right.
And
Right.
I was a kid. I used to sit right there.
Yeah.
These clients are very particular and very demanding, and that's good because they want what they want.
Yeah. That's what they're paying for it.
Correct.
Right.
So we try to satisfy them. Slot Mods, we go above and beyond.
Yeah.
We always wow them. I think I sent you a picture of a diorama with the BMW stripes on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now that one was a year out.
Mm.
That's the first project I worked on when I came on direct. I used to freelance
Yeah.
for Dave over 15 years, your brother Dave.
Oh wow.
And then I'm a daytime exhibit designer,
Mhm.
and I'd moonlight for him off and on as he needed me. And then after this COVID
Yeah.
stuff,
Bullshit.
yeah, you got it. And he brought me on board about
Yeah.
going on 2 years now.
Very cool, man.
So it's so anyways, long story short, so everything we work with the client.
Mhm.
Dave gets all the data. Sometimes we sit with the client, take
Yeah.
notes. We provide pictures, all the research,
Mhm.
and we always are working back and forth between the
Yeah.
client
Yeah.
and our research and the sketches. Sometimes we just do a lot of hand sketches.
Yeah.
No sense spending a lot of money. It takes about a week to design a structure.
Mhm.
So you design it for the cut files for the CNC,
Mhm.
and then to get it all cut, you got to build it. So actually, you can involve. It's almost a month to 3 weeks from sketching to cutting the files to
Yeah.
building it for a structure. And
That's
how
better than
complex
the old
it is.
days.
Exactly.
Yeah, better than the old days, right?
Oh, better than the old days. Everything before CNC.
Mhm.
I remember working some freelance jobs for your brother, and heck, it was like about just a month to do. I did a portion of Targo Florio. In Italy. It's
Oh yeah.
all these ancient buildings. They've been racing there since 1900, I think.
And there was a track of that, right?
Right,
I
Dave,
remember seeing that.
I did, and I think you've seen it.
Yeah.
I did all the buildings in the back.
That was beautiful.
That was-
They're up high and.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that was all done by hand. That was
Yeah.
no. All I had was my hand sketches
Mhm.
and research,
Wow.
and I would draw my own plans up
Yeah.
by manually and build it.
Very
The
cool.
pictures. But,
Yeah.
So things have gotten better as far as technology helps us become more accurate,
Mhm.
more dynamic with our displays, and more realism, more
Yeah.
detail. So it's definitely the computer is our friend.
Yeah. That's very cool, man. That is awesome. Yeah. Your drawings are. That's just crazy. You can draw that kind of stuff like that by hand.
Oh, thank you.
You know, it's awesome. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit. we're gonna talk about. Well, we talked about slot mods, and now we're gonna talk about some of your hobbies. And I see you brought some of your hobbies. These are some of your hobbies, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
My dad got me. My dad corrupted me at an early age.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I got into these hobbies from my dad, who was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
big, he was a machinist and all kinds of stuff. He was a custom car guy when he got out of the service in the 50s,
Mhm.
before George Barris became famous. He
Yeah.
worked for him for a few weeks. He got out of the service
Wow.
before he became a household name.
Yeah. Right. Right.
This was like the early middle 50s, I think.
Out in California.
For
I think,
California
yeah.
for a few weeks, and then he came back here and worked as a metal prototype guy, machinist,
Yeah.
artisan, draftsman.
Right.
He's one of them guys, World War II era guys that
Yeah.
can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And so
right.
we did have quite a few. When I was a kid, we
Mhm.
had quite a few project cars.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so I think I sent a picture of you. Sent a picture of the Charger I had.
Yeah. What's that? 69, 70?
69, correct.
Yeah,
69. That Charger was found in Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't that old at the time. It was like, so it was 79, so about 10 years old
Yeah,
the car was.
yeah.
The engine was beat.
Yeah. How was the body on that?
Body was pretty clean.
Oh, nice.
Pretty clean. So what happened was, we brought it, my dad do his contacts,
Yeah.
got the car, and we put a new front motor in it, put a 440 in it,
Mm.
and that car had about 20 coats of red lacquer on it,
Wow.
and then we sanded it off and shot it clear on it.
Yeah.
Before all the EPA
Yeah.
regulations,
Right. Right.
we shot that car in the two-car garage behind the house.
Didn't wear a mask.
Of course not. Of course, why would you do that?
Yeah. Right.
Why would you do that? Basically, we created a tent, 2x2s,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the garage,
Mhm.
put visqueen on it,
Mhm.
took like a big box fan,
Yeah.
shoot the fumes out,
Right.
and watered the floor down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we shot it. Lacquer is forgiving, as you know,
Mhm.
and we shot it, sanded between coats, and that was the best paint job my dad said he ever did.
Yeah. Awesome.
And he had no
Yeah.
spray booth. We had our own spray booth.
Yeah.
That's the way we did it back in the olden days.
Yeah. Was this in high school or?
This was I was in high school.
Yeah.
I was 17.
And you drove to high school, eh?
Oh yeah, of course. When
Oh,
I got
you're
done,
one
yeah.
bad mother, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome, man.
But and that car was sold to go to art school.
Oh, okay.
So I
Perfect.
I wish I had the car.
So what'd you sell it for back then?
Oh heck, I think I got about 15 for it.
15,000.
Yeah, I had that in parts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there was a new engine.
Mhm.
The other engine was junk. It was not even wasn't even worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and I also had a friend at the time whose dad worked at Chrysler.
Mhm.
And so I got all the trim pieces, all the interior trim, exterior trim, all OEM Chrysler stuff
Nice.
through my buddy's dad,
Mhm.
who got the discount.
Yeah.
And it was that sort of after 10 years, I guess. I'm thinking that after 10 years, when I would do my research on it, they stopped making parts for cars.
Right.
This is towards the end of 79,
Yeah.
78, so it's toward the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got, he scavenged his buddies, his dad's buddies at Chrysler were
Mhm.
searching some parts for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had at least had about $3,000 or $4,000 in just new parts back
Wow.
then. So actually, it probably was cheaper to buy a new car.
Yeah. Right.
At that time, it was
Yeah.
cheaper to buy a new car.
Nice. That sounds like a nice car, man.
It was a great car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And wish I had it.
Yeah. We all wish we had our old cars.
Exactly.
But tonight you brought over your 1940 Bremer Whirlwind
Correct.
and a Spin Dizzy,
Correct.
and you brought some other airplane engines. Motors.
Correct.
And we're going to go through and talk about some of these. What do you think?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
The reason why the airplane engines are relevant
Mhm.
because they modify the airplane engines to put in the cars.
Now, did your dad have a connection with this?
Oh yeah, he was basically back when he was a kid back in the 30s.
Mhm.
He did this stuff.
Okay.
He did that, and then what happened was he basically after he got out of the service, settled down a bit,
Mhm.
he started collecting all this stuff, and
Right.
he got me involved in it as a young man.
Yeah.
And what happened was that we used to always fly model airplanes
Mhm.
with the airplane fly model airplanes. These are like in the late 30s.
Yeah.
In that time period,
Yeah.
it was like the kids having the computer games today.
Mhm. Right.
Everybody knew how to work on them. They're all
Yeah.
spark ignition engines. So anyways, sorry, that's Kitty.
Let's talk about that one in the front there.
This is a Synchro Ace. This company was a division of General Motors, and the synchro mesh transmissions. Heard of the synchro mesh transmissions?
Right.
Well, this company also produced, they call it synchro specialties or novelties.
Okay.
And they'd also created spin dizzy cars,
Yeah.
model airplanes, and model airplane engines. And you see it's a kind of Art Deco styling of the late 30s.
Right. Right.
And this was manufactured in Detroit.
Oh, really?
So all this was, they were a division of General Motors, and division of Synchro Devices. Synchro Devices was the company that made the transmission. Then they had, I think the devices, there was devices or novelties,
Yeah.
and they created all the model airplane engines.
And that's a running engine too, right?
Correct, it's a spark ignition. It's
Wow.
like your car, spark plug,
Mhm.
and you have, this guy right here will explain better here. This guy here is an Olson Gold Seal,
Mhm.
which is same era, 1937, 38. And as you can see, you have a coil. So the coil, you have your high tension lead right here,
Right. Right.
which will go right here to your coil. A condenser will be mounted, which is not on here, over here, which are connected to the points.
Mhm.
So you had your points, your condenser, and your coil, and also a set of AA batteries.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Provided a spark. So you use it as a booster. So this is, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And these were all all handmade.
Correct. Back in the day when model airplane hobby back in late 30s, it started actually in the late 20s, early 30s. They were making model airplane for, I guess, Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic. It sort of blew up. Everything model airplane aircraft was crazy. And at this time period, all the young men were trying to figure out, I want a gas engine for my model airplane
Right,
instead of
right.
rubber band.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And so Bill Brown was the first guy that produced a commercial 60 size engine, just a 60 size, about a quarter horse engine. And Irwin Olson did this one here, and the commercial companies took over here. But all these companies were like you and I.
Yeah.
We're Olson molders.
Right. Yeah.
So you were a machinist, also a salesman.
Yeah.
I was the guy in the shop building them.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it was like a couple guys. So all these model engines and all these cars and stuff, they weren't built by a big corporation
Yeah.
initially. They were built by guys like you and us in the garage,
Right.
and we would market them, and we would sell them. And a lot of these guys became pretty wealthy at one time.
Yeah. What size pistons is in this one?
This is a 60 size.
Okay.
So it's 0.60, so it's almost a little under an inch
Okay. Yeah.
diameter. And if you take it, you can also, if you can turn it, see that's compression.
yeah,
That's
you
that compression in
Feel
it.
the compression. Right.
And so basically, how you do it is basically this is the fuel tank.
Yeah.
And this one fuel tank is the same idea, the same era of engine. So you mix gas and oil. Some people would even go as far as going to the airport and
Mhm.
buy high test aviation fuel.
Right.
Mix it with your castor oil.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you would mix it up, put it in here. You would basically have a set of batteries on board the model airplane or car.
Mhm.
And you would turn the switch on, and you would prime it. It's like you would your lawnmower. Just the carburetor. You put your finger over here, and you
Yeah.
would just turn it, and prime the engine.
Yeah.
Retard the points.
Wow.
So if you advance it, it's like your car with
Yeah.
points.
Mhm.
But you set your points to start it.
Wow.
And so you have it retarded like your lawnmower would back in the olden days before they had all the electronic
Yeah.
ignition.
Yeah.
And then if you had it advanced and you hit it, your finger would pay the
Oh
price.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So once you have your fueled up, the booster battery switched on, you would just hit it, it's a propeller,
Mhm.
and so just
You're good to go.
clicking over, and
Yeah.
you're good to go, and adjust the points. Excuse me, and adjust your needle valve.
Mhm.
And these planes are all flown free flight.
Wow.
This is pre-RC.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and these engines were like about $10 to $15 back in the 30s. So that's about over a couple $100 nowadays, I would
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And so this is
These spark plugs are just crazy small.
yes, and these are made by the same guys that made the spark plugs for the cars.
Oh, really?
AC Delco. I think this is I can't see my. Is this a Delco or is it a Champion?
We're getting old. We gotta look closer.
Exactly. And there's Autolite. All the major automotive
That's
manufacturers.
Champion. Yep.
Champion, Champion, Autolite, Delco, all the companies are like aftermarket companies like for the automotive
Yeah.
or aviation. The same company that made spark plugs for the the real items
Yeah, yeah.
made the spark plugs for the model airplanes.
Let's look at that one with the big the propeller on it.
Well, we're talking about the Morton M5.
The Morton M5.
This is a scale. This is a Hamilton. This is a scale. This is a
Get
scale.
that out of your way.
Thank you. This is a 5-cylinder. It's an exact scale model, about 1935-36, a blonde radial engine. And this was this is a Hamilton standard propeller, which was a model of that too. It's the same thing you find in a real aircraft.
Yeah.
And these were initially built for the U.S. Army Air Service, or Air Corps, as it was called back pre-World War II,
Okay.
because they were training mechanics.
On these engines like this.
Correct.
Yeah.
So when you were drafted or you joined the service back before World War II or when the war started,
Yeah.
you needed mechanics-wise airplanes they're building.
Wow.
So they started them off with this engine.
Yeah.
And basically, it was actually some came in kits and some were just pretty pre-built by the company. And you were basically had to strip it down, take it apart, get used to working on a multi-cylinder engine.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can see the rocker arms moving.
Yes, yeah. And this is a running engine too.
Correct, it's a running
Wow.
engine. And so they trained the mechanics, World War II mechanics, as this was like their first introduction
Right.
to working on a large aircraft engines, which had 12 cylinders, 16 cylinders. This is where it all started. So you understand the timing, understand like on the Wright Whirlwind engines and on the B-17.
Yeah.
They were huge engines with more components than this. But this is where it all started at.
Yeah.
This is where you trained at, and so a company called Morton, a guy named Morton, was the vendor to the U.S. government, and they made tons of these guys for the mechanics to work, get their feet wet.
It's just crazy.
And sometimes they were made to build them, use the lathe, the Bridgeports, all the equipment. Some they were taught to build these, taught to strip them down, build them, start them, run them.
Yeah.
Just like on a real airplane.
Yeah, yeah.
So when then they moved on, they got to the full size stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But this was basically an introduction to aircraft engines.
Wow. That's
And
crazy.
after the war, the company Morton Company, and also Burgess was about batteries. Burgess Battery Company. This goes back.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
But they also had interest in this company too. Like in World War II, they wash machine companies made rifles, made them ones.
Right, right.
It's the same thing here.
Yeah.
So they made so many of these. So after the war is over, they had all the dies, the castings, they had all the parts, and so they started advertising the model airplane news in the air trail magazines, and they would sell kits.
Yeah.
For kids to, back then, they allowed kids, like I said earlier, they're very savvy on the computer. Back then, a 16-year-old kid could run a lathe, a Bridgeport, and a surface grinder.
Yeah.
Back in the day. And
Right.
you'd be surprised how many kids, 16 and younger, were running lathes.
Yeah.
And doing this. So so they had all this investment.
Yeah.
So they decided to introduce it to the model community.
Yeah.
So they continue the process of selling and making the company viable. Because after World War II stopped, they had a big factory with all these parts, but nobody to sell them to.
Yeah.
So they made them available to the hobby community.
Wow, that's just crazy.
And this is also this structure here is the actual structure, it's a scale structure that we mounted onto an aircraft.
Oh, okay.
So everything is a scale to the real thing. So if you would look up on Google a LeBlanc 5-cylinder engine, you will find this. And this is the scale model of it. And you would find, if you do also Google Hamilton standard 2-blade propeller, you would find this.
Really? Wow.
So
That's
this
crazy.
is exact scale models. And so this is, and I sent away this on one of the guys I know. I'm getting the wiring harness on here. The intent is hopefully get it running from next year, 2023.
Yeah.
Get all that. I just got a few components I got to pick up yet, and maybe when we get it running, maybe we can do a live run.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll do it outside though.
That sounds good.
Let's look at that big bad boy right on the side of you there.
Well, the 1940 Crown racing engine. So this was basically set up for a racing boat.
Okay, yeah.
So it's at the same time period, back in the late 30s, 40s, post World War II, they would take modified model airplane engines, convert them to the cars, convert them to boats. So on a Belle Isle, they would race these hydroplane models. They're about yay big.
Yeah.
And this engine was built for that. It's a 60 size engine. As you can see, it's set up on an angle, so you can go to your prop shaft.
Yeah, right.
Goes right to the hull and basically runs the propeller. And again, they have there's automotive points.
Oh, wow, yeah.
These points
yeah.
are off a 1940 Ford. It went out to Ford, but it's the same points that 1940 Ford would use. And again, the same thing. You would basically have a separate fuel tank. It's the needle valve. It's the needle valve right here, and you have the hose, and you have a separate tank. And you would have this is just a dummy here, but basically to spin this off, connect your prop shaft to it, and again, and this is the pulley, flywheel, flyweight, and again, if you want to check, you can turn that sucker over.
Oh wow, yeah.
So this thing will run.
Yeah.
And so how they do it would be a little flywheel here, so you have like your old lawnmowers with the pull cord.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing.
Now, how fast would that motor be? How could that fast go? How fast was that?
The boat's going to scale speed 60 to 100 miles an hour.
Wow. Jeez.
And how they would do it is, they call it the car spin dizzies.
Yeah.
Somewhere, and they did the same thing in the water. They would do the same thing in the water, and they would race them the same way on a large arc.
Yeah, yeah.
In a circle. And I do believe, I'm not sure quite where, but in Belle Isle, I do believe there was a racing club. They raced these pre-World War II. And I think I think it's by the old lighthouse. They have there's a pond there. I haven't been down there in years.
It's been a long time, yeah.
But they did race them in Belle Isle though, the boats. And so this is a typical racing. It just is like a 1-inch diameter cylinder piston.
Yeah.
And so everything is designed for to give double exhaust, make it look kind of sexy in racing engines.
What looks crazy is because usually in a car, your points are covered up with a cap. That's just
Right.
out in the open. Racing.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Correct. And then you see this guy here now. You would basically hook your coil, your condenser onto this. Then you have again, it's just like here. You'd have the same components.
Right.
Condenser, coil, and also you'd have a double A or a double A battery. This probably would take actually like a C-size battery cell, tri-cell. And then to start them, you always you ever see them big old volt-and-a-half batteries?
Yes. Yeah.
That was your booster battery.
Okay.
You would clip it on to the terminals, and you would augment the spark, you get a hotter spark, and then you would get it started, remove that, and it'll take it over, and it'll run on the little double A or C-size battery, and then you would it's all set up on a braided cable, and let's let it go.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
And it's kind of weird because this stuff was this pre-RC. There was some RC back in the 1940, but they had one channel, very very crude compared to today's standards.
Yeah.
But that's where it all started, and
It's got to be pretty loud, eh?
it's like a lawnmower. If you heard the weed whacker engines,
Yeah.
like that, only a little more shrill.
Yeah.
A little more.
They're just screaming on the lake.
Screaming. You gotta wear headphones, otherwise you're gonna be going deaf.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same idea. If you ever heard that your neighbor had a gas powered.
Yeah.
Same, but these sound actually a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because you adjust the needle valve. You would actually run them rich for the first few minutes, then you lean them out.
They just nice and crisp.
And it's well, man, it sounds better than your weed whacker, but it's the same type of sound, but it sounds a little more rich.
Right.
But yeah, so this was what the kids did back in the 1940s, pre-World War II and post-World War II, and again, all this stuff was built. My dad built this one from original castings.
Oh wow.
So, and in the basement, he had a couple bridge ports, a couple lathes, surface grinder.
Yeah.
I was lucky as a kid because I had all these toys or tools as things I could access. So I I'm never good as the old man, but
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
get him. I could run the mill. I could
Yeah.
run the lathe. I could get pretty close, but he was the master at all this
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
I was just a punk kid
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to say I can do this, Dad.
yeah. Well, what else do you have over? What's that? That
Oh, this guy here.
yeah, let's look at that one there.
This is a Wasp twin, and thank you.
Yeah.
And this see what's again the 5-cylinder. Not everybody could afford the 5-cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
So typical engine back in the day, where there's also, I should have brought different size engines.
Yeah.
There was a Class A's, they were that big.
Mm-hmm.
Class B's, a little bigger.
Yeah.
This is the Class C. It's a 60 size.
Okay.
That's a Class C. This is a Class. Now this is, imagine this as 1 cylinder.
Yeah.
That would be considered a Class B. But now since it's a twin,
Mm-hmm.
it's a Class D because it had the displacement.
Right.
Is that equal to equal to this?
Yeah. Right. Right.
The piston's only about 3/8 diameter.
Yeah.
Quarter.
Yeah.
So it's all about displacement, engine
Mhm.
displacement, and the size of the pistons. So this is a Class D, but it's a smaller engine.
Yeah.
But I have the same displacement as that guy, and the engines of this caliber. So that's how I got around it. And
Yeah.
this is basically for control line back in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Early RC used this, and so what's better than 1 cell? These are more affordable than the M5.
Yeah.
And a lot
yeah.
of kids didn't have a Bridgeport or a lathe in there.
No. No.
in their
Yeah.
in their basement. But back then, everything was, people were more, I guess, the kids were more, again, it goes back to, I said earlier, it's this was the computer gaming of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Let's take a look at that car over there.
This guy here, this is a post-war, they call it a spin dizzy. This was the body shell right here,
All aluminum.
all aluminum.
Wow.
This is a Fuji.
Oh, it says right there, made in Japan.
It's made in Japan.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I made that up. Here you go.
What does it say now?
It doesn't say. No.
Oh, but seriously, this is made in Japan.
Oh, okay.
After World War II,
Yeah.
after the economies of the world were not,
Mhm.
they were trying to heal from all the war and all the bad stuff that was going on,
Yeah.
and Japan was trying to get westernized and become a normal society again.
Mhm.
So what happened is, this is about 1948, 49. Again, if you look at this is an American. This is American. These are like post World War II
Yeah.
spin dizzy race cars, and this is American made. But if you look at it, well, you see
Very
the
similar.
Japanese copied pretty good.
Yeah, they did.
They always did.
Yeah.
And also an American, I can't recall his name now, but he introduced them to quality and control. And I can't recall the gentleman's name anymore. But anyways, Americans didn't take him quality control as serious back in
Yeah.
the day, but the Japanese did. And so, anyways, this is the chassis, and again, this is the model airplane engine adapted.
Let's bring it out here. So
I'm
you can
sorry.
see that. Yeah, no problem.
But so this is the chassis. This is the gas tank.
Mhm.
Now this is the glow engine now. See, earlier, remember we had the points. There's
Yeah.
your points.
Yeah.
You have to have a condenser. You have to have a coil. You have to have onboard batteries. But now, I just have a glow plug.
Okay.
So the glow plug it's basically, it runs on the same, I want to say it runs in a similar way as a diesel would, but it's not a diesel. So you use a highly explosive, like nitro. It's a mixture, a racing mixture.
Mhm.
Well, long story short is how a glow engine works basically is the explosions are so close together it keeps on running.
Yeah.
So in this glow plug here, there's a little coil. When you
It heats up,
put the
right.
battery on
Yeah.
it, it turns bright red.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once explosions start with the ignition of the fuel,
Mhm.
they're so close together, the glow plug never goes out.
Oh, right.
But so you don't need a onboard battery.
Right.
You don't need the coil anymore. You don't need the
Mhm.
condenser anymore. No, not much wiring. Just your fuel line for the gas. You adjust the same principle, a needle valve. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. So that chassis and the body and the chassis is Japan,
Correct. It's
and
Fuji.
everything else was built.
This was actually
Custom
imported
built.
into the United States.
Oh, the whole
Correct.
kit. Okay.
So it was so they were copying these guys. No, this is a Olson Rice. This is a Olson Rice.
Mm-hmm.
So remember this engine right here, that guy right there, a guy named Irwin Olson.
Mm-hmm.
He started a company that produced these engines, but after World War II, he was making these as well.
Oh, okay.
And so basically he diversified because after World War II, everything sort of changed. Everybody's mindset changed.
Right, right.
So he had to diversify into cars. Some were model trains.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was, I'm sure the Japanese seen this,
Right.
and they go, well, we can, and Fuji, back in the 70s, they made a really, really nice RC control sets. Servos and the
Yeah.
radios. They were known for, later on, when I was a kid, they made engines and they made RC components.
Yes.
And they were known for their radios, radio controls,
Yeah, yeah.
back in the 70s. But they started back right here. They started right here, doing this model engines
Mm-hmm.
and race cars, which is based off the American. This is Olson post-war, and that's Olson pre-war.
But that's a Spin Dizzy, right?
Spin
It doesn't
Dizzy-
have an engine in it,
well,
right?
it has an engine in it.
Oh, it does.
Oh, yep. It's like this small one. It's in here.
Okay.
The Spin Dizzy is more of a nickname.
Okay.
So what happened was when you had, as you can see here, the right here. If you look at right here, see these little. You have these. I gotta replace the windshield there.
Yeah.
These right here is a bridle on it,
Mm-hmm.
and you have maybe about 20 feet of line, 20 feet of
Oh,
line.
right. Yes.
And sometimes, depending what class of race car you were in, or you participated in, you would actually be a post. There'd be a cement pad,
Yeah.
be about 40-foot square. Not a regular square, but it had a bank. It had all the
Yeah.
banks on it. It's like a race car,
Mhm.
basically. And you would, as a post, and you would hang on to the car, and you would hang on to the post
Wow.
and spin dizzy
Oh, right, right.
because you're spinning it around. It was a nickname back in the 30s.
Yeah, right.
And then I think someplace in Ferndale or Royal Oak,
Mm-hmm.
these guys, here, we're going to
Yeah.
grab the 1940 here. This,
Oh, the big boy.
so this guy, see, this is where it all started. Thank you. This came first.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you. And this guy came. These came first. Again, Synchro, the same company that made the Synchro.
Yeah.
They made castings for this guy right here.
Wow.
And not for this model, but they had their version of the Synchro. They had their Synchro race car.
Mm-hmm.
This was also the dueling. Probably a lot of you guys might know what dueling. The Dueling brothers were known for racing engines in the model area. So there's dueling race cars. There's Bremer race cars.
And what's this made out of here?
As is solid brass.
Wow. Can you turn that one around?
Oh, sure can.
That is great. Now, did your dad build this?
He built it. This is the one he built.
Mhm.
He used castings, the grill,
Mhm.
the chassis. I'm sorry, and all the drive line, all your transaxle
Mhm.
here, all the silver portions here, the cowling, the back here,
Yeah.
the chassis rails. This is all what you got from that. So when you paid your $20 or $15, that's all you got. You got the frame, you got the axles, you got the grill, you got the rear tail here. You'd have to actually make the rest.
Oh, yeah.
So you had to be, back then you had to be kind of handy to do this kind of stuff. And you'd be surprised how many people were handy to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is a linkage from a carburetor off
Okay.
again,
Yeah.
Mr. Ford.
Yeah,
Mr. Ford.
yeah. You're right.
It's a carburetor
right.
linkage just from the 30s, used as suspension components.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically you'd modify that engine to adapt to this.
That would go into there.
You go right here,
Wow.
and it would connect to the transaxle,
Mm-hmm.
And you would have, see here, you see here, this is what you had your,
Oh,
the bridle.
the bridle. Yeah, yeah.
I should have brought a picture of one, which I apologize I didn't. It shows how these things were set up.
Yeah.
And maybe
yeah.
in the future I can bring a picture and show
Yeah.
you that how these were set up.
Yeah.
You had a bridle, and again, and it was like a early form of slot track.
Mm-hmm.
They had there's an apparatus here like on a slot car.
Yeah.
And I guess I would say Royal Oak. I think there was a track in Royal Oak or Ferndale back in
Yeah.
the 30s. I could be wrong. I'm sure somebody might know something I don't know about it. But I know it was in the Detroit area. I'll put it
Yeah.
that way.
I like the you got the leaf spring in the front there.
Oh, yep.
Wow.
And everything functions.
In it, yeah, yeah.
It all functions, back, front, and back. And you had a track. It was like a club. It belonged to a club. Say half a dozen guys would get
Yeah.
together, and they would, or a dozen guys, and they would buy some property or
Mhm.
rent property, create a track. It's like a giant slot track.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like a giant slot track, and you had a bridle on here, and again you would stagger them. And I apologize for not bringing the pictures of how these are set up, because they
Yeah.
really were
That is really cool.
really cool. And again, imagine you've seen your brother's slot track.
Yeah.
That's what we make.
Yeah.
And again, imagine a dish slot track, about 5 or 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They were dished. They were flat. It's like a real test
Yeah,
track.
yeah.
And also, this is not set up for racing. It's more display, but it is an antique.
Yeah.
There was on this right here on the engine here. There was you could connect on there's a switch for the batteries that provides a spark to the engine, and there's a rod sticking up. So you would do like 10 laps around the track.
Yeah.
And the race marshal would say we're done, and then you would throw a rag at the car, which had this rod here that would shut the batteries off.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
So anyways, this was kind of wild and woolly back then.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
But again, this was actually a gas-powered slot track car.
Yeah, that's very
on a
cool.
bridle. But yes, that's what the entertainment was back in the days before TV and
Yeah.
computers.
What do we got over here? What's this one here?
Oh, the little prop car here.
Yeah.
No, this is a Cox Thimble-Drome. This is now 59 and 58.
Yeah.
Well, the World War II guys, they had kids now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't do this anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So a company Cox, which was
Let's put that one out front so we can show the people the cars. Yeah.
there we go.
Yep. That one is so cool.
There we go. Thank you. There we go.
Perfect.
There we go. I'll put this over here. And so anyways, long story short, how this goes is, now that the World War II guys started having kids,
Mhm.
the companies just start producing these commercially. So this is again same concept. This is called a prop rod. You have to model airplane engine.
Yeah.
Model airplane engine. Oops. There we go. Sorry.
You're good.
And again, I have connections here. I have a bridle.
Yep.
So then I have a bridle like this. Comes out with like a 20-foot or 30-foot cable. You hammer and nail it and spike into the center of the cement where the expansion joints were. Again, it's a glow engine. Now it's simpler than all that spark ignition stuff.
Yeah,
You don't have
yeah.
to deal with batteries, coils, or condensers anymore. It's just 1959, 1960, and feel this the gas tank. Feel
What
the
they
gas.
run? What kind of fuel did they run in those?
Glow fuel. Just
Well, fuel. Okay.
it's a
'Cause
Cox.
I remember the Cox motors when I was like in the '70s. Those dune buggies, you'd have to pull the
Right.
in.
Same stuff when you were a kid.
Yeah, that smell. I remember the smell of it.
The same stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the
Okay.
same- This was the same company you had when you were a dune buggy.
Yeah, yeah.
You probably had a Shrike.
I can't. It's been so long.
A Shrike was the 1970s version of this, and it was basically had wheel pants on it. It was
Mhm.
a little more sexy, and it took the same basic casting. They changed the canopy, so it was more of a racing canopy. But the same, and it had a roll bar on it, and so anyways, they tried to take the same, modernize it for the 70s.
Yeah.
This was 59, 1960. So this was their first stab at it, and then Cox, you know, made a lot of airplanes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They made all kinds of cars later on.
Yeah.
This is what started it all for Cox here.
Wow.
They were around.
Mm-hmm.
This engine here is called the thermal hopper.
Yeah.
Leroy Cox made this back in the mid-50s for model airplanes.
Wow.
Then he adapted it to a car. It's just a aluminum body
Yeah.
on the bottom, plastic on top. Now, when they made these in the 70s, the whole thing was plastic.
Yeah.
All you
Right.
had was some metal axles in them and the metal on the engine. And so this was when we were well. When I was a kid, well, this is already gone when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the next version of this was when I was a kid.
Right.
And same idea, you would just put the clip on your battery,
Yeah.
put the gas in it, and just flip it again, and
Yeah, I remember that.
pull
Yeah.
off it.
Yeah.
And if you're not too quick with it, your finger gets bit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
ah!
Yeah.
But,
Right. Yeah. That is very cool.
But anyways, so again, this was like the last hurrah
Yeah. Yeah.
of the tethered race cars
Mhm.
before people got to getting more RC things.
Yeah.
And this was again, this is 50s, and then they modified this car. Now, like it lasted almost into the late 70s, I think.
Mhm.
And after that, everybody's more into RC.
Yeah.
People started getting away from the control line,
Yeah.
more anything more whiz bang.
Yeah.
More,
Right. Right.
But so the stuff of this era was more visceral because you could actually get hands on.
Yeah.
Where now it's like you have an electric motor, you click it on, you'll
Yeah.
hear it,
Yeah.
and you
Wow.
fly it. But again, this is like the end of it. It's sort of towards the end of the era of the tethered
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
This from Cox Motor Company, and so yeah, this was how we went from the 30s to the 60s, and it lasted about 40 years.
Yeah.
It was.
Wow.
And it evolved.
Hey, I forgot to ask about that other engine there, the gray.
Oh, this guy right here.
Yeah. Then we're gonna move on to that other car you have.
Oh, you got you.
The one from you used to give away at the gas station.
I
believe?
got it right there.
Yeah.
Can I get up? I'm interrupting the viewing. Here we go. Here we go.
All right. We'll get that one next.
Sounds good. So, anyways, this is the Wasp twin right here I showed you
yeah.
earlier.
Yes.
Well, this was my dad wanted to make this was a version of the Super Wasp, which
Okay.
was the big brother to that.
Okay.
And this engine and the Super Wasp was very. When I was as a married guy, my dad had a lot of money. He wanted one, he couldn't afford it. So this is a collectible. These were like 30 or 40 years old when I was a kid.
Mhm.
So he, being a married guy and responsibilities, he didn't have money to buy this engine he wanted. So basically, he borrowed one from his friend.
Yeah.
And he made a mold. This a model
Wow.
for sand casting. So that's the big brother to this guy right here.
So your dad casted this.
He casted it.
Wow.
But that's the model.
It's so light.
So this is made out of wood, but it's the model for it's the mold model.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
like pattern making.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They made the pattern for this, and then you basically you have the cope and the drag,
Right.
and you put the sand in there, and
Yep.
make the sprue and whatnot, and so he casted these crankcases and cylinders,
Yeah.
and then of course they can machine them and
Yeah,
have
yeah,
machining
right.
going, and this you go like this, so when you
That-
pour
That's
it.
where it was poured. Yeah.
So you pour this comes off, of course, gets
Mhm.
cut down. But this is where you pour it.
Yeah.
So when you pour the liquid molten metal, it goes down there, but it won't damage your mold. So it goes here first, and
Mhm.
then
Worked
goes
its
out.
way through. Yeah.
So this was a sand cast, which
Yeah.
is your basic. So yeah, so this is the mold he made
Mhm.
for the big brother of that one, which at that time was at that time period. A lot of this stuff, the value is not there as it once was. When
Yeah.
that group of guys have passed on and moved on, and they're not around anymore.
Right. Right.
And so the value is not as there
Yeah.
as they once was. So when my dad was in the height of it, if you couldn't afford it, you made it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So
That's cool.
So it's something that I learned from my dad too, do this kind of
Yeah.
model making and whatnot. But that was kind of interesting to show. This is where it started. This is
Yeah.
a part of the production of a model engine.
So let's go to a smaller version of.
I believe this is the Marmon Meteor. This was like a duration car. That was back in the 30s, and that was given away as at the gas stations as a novelty or promotion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I can't read. I can't read.
Yeah, I can't either.
And
Little boat tail on there, 2-passenger.
now back in the day now, we had two guys in a race car. Your
Mhm.
mechanic rode with you.
That's right. Yeah.
So what happens is, because a lot of these engines, you would have to keep the gas tank pressurized. So his job was to keep the mechanic had to keep the pump and the
Yeah.
gas tank pressurized because they had no fuel pumps.
Yeah. Right.
So that's why I usually see a mechanic riding with
That was his job. Yeah.
with the driver. This was a rubber, so it's all solid rubber.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's middle late 30s, and this was given away at any of your Skelly or your Amco state. I think I want to say Skelly. They were
Yeah.
an early gas company, and I could be wrong. If somebody knows out there knows anything about it, please let me know.
Yeah.
And they were giving away as when your dad got gas for your car.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they give you a little token of their appreciation.
Did you say what year this is about?
Middle 30s.
Wow.
So so it's white rubber here.
Yeah,
And this is painted actually. This rubber is painted here, but it's black. But yeah, so this was given as a promotional or
Yeah.
a little novelty. And gas stations used to give things away back in the 30s
Yeah.
as promotions and whatnot.
Back in my day, they gave away glasses.
Yep.
The Looney Tunes or the Lions logo.
Yeah.
on them.
They also get the one when golf had a book when they landed on the moon.
Yeah.
They'll give away
the Apollo glasses.
yeah,
Was it something like
they
that?
have a book and when they were first landed on the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Golf was involved in
Yeah,
giving away
yeah.
novelties
Right. Right.
or very like 50 cents or $1 or something.
What's another car you had? The little one over there.
Oh, this is a little Tootsie car. This is a little Tootsie race car from the I want to say from the 30s or 40s.
Wow.
And so I found it in a yard sale.
That is cool.
But
And it's pretty much a version of that.
yes,
Yeah. That is really cool.
but so actually you can find these little things that are really I'm like on eBay. These things are crazy.
Are they really?
The ones I've seen are kind of crazy. I was like, but it's.
I'll give you $10 for that one. Done deal, right? Right. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So this is basically this is what,
5 minutes.
All right.
and then this is some of the side stuff I'm not doing when I'm working for your brother.
Yeah.
And
You're busy, eh?
Okay, definitely. We are
Yeah.
super busy,
Yeah.
and more things I could share with you. We're at the shop. We're doing
Yeah.
some really fantastic big builds
Mhm.
right now, and super busy.
Yeah.
And
Maybe someday Dave can let me come to the shop and do an on-location shot. huh?
that'll be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
You have to put a word in for me. Good word in for me.
Oh, definitely. I see I can get that jacket for you.
Yeah, right.
Look at that! Look at that
Yeah,
jacket.
yeah. Well, Mark, I really appreciate you bringing everything out. It was so interesting. It was just amazing. These vintage toys and engines. It's crazy. And it's crazy that they all run.
I say it's really funny you say
Yeah.
that because as a kid, I took it for granted,
Yeah. Right. Right.
and I didn't really realize how these things are that
Mhm.
unique. Because I was always around it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now I'm an old guy,
Yeah.
and I see your enthusiasm for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, these things are cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've been around them all my life, so I never take it for granted.
It's nice to share it.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to share it. It's like,
Yeah.
because the generation sort of missed a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
it's fun to share and reach
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
And other stuff you still see on eBay and it goes crazy prices.
Yeah.
I'm going,
Yeah.
we didn't pay that kind of money for
Yeah.
it. Why is it? It's not.
Yeah.
It's like, the main thing is you put a price on it,
Yeah.
but unless you really have a passion for it,
Mhm.
I guess you gotta have a passion for
Yeah.
it. It's like
Yeah.
when we go every
You
time
can't put a price on it if you have a passion for it, right?
correct. Right.
Yeah.
It's like your Olds.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like old classic cars.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
Some guys have these cars that are worth millions, and then don't touch it, don't look
Yeah,
at it. It's
yeah.
like
I hear
if you
ya.
don't enjoy it,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't share it,
Right. Mm-hmm.
it's like why have it?
Right.
Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep maintain it, take care of it, and
Yeah.
pass on to the next. I view this stuff as more as I'm just a temporary caretaker.
Yeah, yeah.
When I go, hopefully my son will take interest in it,
Mhm.
or I'll find some person,
Yeah.
and they can be the next caretaker of this.
Hmm.
Because this other stuff is like 80, 90 years old, and I'm going, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's in great shape. And also, I wanted to also thank you for talking about slot mods.
Oh, you're very welcome. We have
That's
more
all
stuff we can.
interesting. I know the drawings are just interesting. It's crazy that how you guys, I've seen the tracks in person and they're just phenomenal. It's just the quality of work you guys do is just off the charts.
Well, thank you.
It's amazing, and some of the other stuff that you guys do that aren't related to slot car tracks. It's really cool.
Well, your brother's basically is saying we're more toy makers,
Yeah,
and it's really we are toy makers.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
cool. We're doing some unique. We did them hockey games.
Yeah.
Seen them hockey games here?
yeah, yeah,
It's like, I mean, come on, them are the best hockey games in the world.
yeah. Maybe we can talk about that next time on those.
Oh yeah, I got tons of stuff.
Yeah.
I'll bring more. I can bring more drawings.
Yeah.
And when your brother is talking about other exciting things going on,
Mhm.
and it's like, and again, like we go to work every day, and it's like, this is fun stuff. It's good.
Yeah.
It's work, but it's fun
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
It's fun
yeah.
work. And people walk in here, and your brother was saying the other day that, we just sort of like we're here doing it all day, and it's like somebody else walks in, they don't see it every day, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow.
Wow, yeah.
Maybe you stop and think, wow, yeah,
Yeah.
this is cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, well, cool, Mark. Thank
Well,
you for coming out
well, thank you for having
tonight. And
I appreciate it. It's awesome.
hell yeah, thank you. And this will be up on YouTube and on Spotify, so you can see the video and you can listen to it. This is Car Scene with Dean. Like, share, tag, follow, and I'll talk to you soon.
Don't be late, the wheel pulling out.